Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's Edchat Interactive. This is the first Edchat Interactive that's part of the ClassFlow series on STEM engagement and robotics. Tonight, um, we're going to have Cindy Wallace, Jennifer Hoskins, Lynn Sumner, and Carol Korsmeier, and their district designed a brand new STEM program from the ground up. So if you can think about what you would do if you had the opportunity to design a STEM program that was going to be really effective and you weren't dragged down by past history, that's basically what they've done, and they're going to share their experiences and talk to you about what you might do in your schools. And I want to thank Promethean and ClassFlow for putting this together. For those of you who aren't familiar with ClassFlow, it's an interactive system that allows for great lesson delivery. It allows teachers to build, access, incorporate, assign, display, and share lessons and content through any web browser. So thank you, ClassFlow, and thank you, Promethean. And now I'd like to start our presentation with Cindy, Jennifer, Kaylin, and Carol. I'm going to bring down this slide, and I'm going to bring up probably Cindy. Okay. How are you doing?
All right. I'm great, Mitch.
So,
How are you tonight?
good. It was a little touch and go, but I guess you're all now in the same room.
We have STEMified this whole process. We are sitting on a basket. I wish that you could see our setup. Sitting on a basket, and we're just all right here around my desk. That is our turntable. There's Jennifer sticking her head in. So, sometimes technology, but that's what we do best. We do workarounds all the time. So thank you for having us.
Right. Isn't that part of the scientific method, or isn't that what we're trying to get kids to do?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolute problem
We
solving.
grew a few extra gray hairs tonight and had a little bit of a panic moment, but we're ready to roll.
Well, I'm lucky because whereas I do have gray hairs, I have fewer and fewer. Less and less hair. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to bring myself down. I'll bring your slides up, okay? And you'll just tell me when you need them advanced and when to switch over to a video and when to pop up.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, so as Mitch said, my name is Cindy Wallace. I'm the STEM coordinator here in Marshall, Texas, which is in the upper east corner of Texas. I have my colleagues here, Jennifer, who is the instructional coach for STEM, Lynn Sumner, who is a kindergarten STEM teacher, and then Carol Korsmeier, who teaches an elective class of technology. We're going to share with you a little bit about the framework of our program, the details, but mainly the workarounds, the products that we found to be very effective for a K through 6 program. Though Carol and my background is in 7 through 12. We've raised test scores in both sets of, we'll be happy to share any and all information that we have with you tonight. So we're super excited that you're here. Thank you for joining us. And we'll go ahead and go to the next slide, Mitch. As I said, we are in East Texas. There's a little bit of the map. Carol and I live right over the state line in Louisiana. This is a program that's 4 years old and actually began from a conversation of a long-range planning committee here in Marshall. They saw the need to have really just the opportunity for students to practice problem solving and develop critical thinking skills, which are so important in today's day and age. We have, go ahead, Mitch, and we'll show some data. We have students in grades K through 8, approximately 460 students on an elementary campus. And then we have 2 middle school programs, which are really almost, I wouldn't say a school within a school because they're very much part of the culture and the climate of the school that they're in, but there are about 100 students in each grade level. So 5th and 6th grade is what they call middle school here in Texas, that participate in the STEM on 2 different campuses. So we have a nice sampling of students. There are qualifications to be part of the program. The qualifications include students being on grade level, having good attendance, and then behaving while they're there. And from that point on, there's no other additional requirements. We did want to show you a video, and Mitch has that, I think, on the next slide, a little bit about our program. This is a sampling video that we did from last year. We will tell you the details and the framework of our program. We do have transdisciplinary projects. We have little, what we would call STEM bites, manageable pieces that we work into our curriculum on a daily basis. And then certainly we have global connections, and you'll see that all through the video. So go ahead, Mitch.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. Hot air balloon never goes space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Here come bad news, talking this and that. Give me all you got and don't hold it back. Well, I should probably warn you, I'll be just fine. No offense to you, don't waste your time. Here's why. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Bring me down, can't run. Bring me down, love to. Bring me down, can't run. Bring me down, I said. Bring me down, can't run. Bring me down, love to. Bring me down, can't run. Bring me down, I said. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do.
Thank you so much. So that's just a quick sampling of some of the things that we did last fall in the first 2 months of school. I have been here for 1 year as of this year, and that was my first 2 months. It's been a fantastic experience. We were a very traditional classroom, as you could imagine, and we really have just begun to try to stretch the limits of what's possible in a classroom with the tech integration, with the hands-on projects, and with the global connections. And it could not be possible without the awesome educators that I work with, many of whom are in the audience with you tonight. So I hope that in the opportunities to connect, that you really will connect. We've got some here from ClassFlow. We've got people here from AR Circuit, the founder of AR Circuit. It's one of our favorite products. And so please mingle around and have a chance. Mitch, if you'll go ahead and advance to our question. I think it is one slide over. We want to know your experience with STEM. Where are you in growing a STEM program at your school? Are you just in the thinking stages, beginning stages? Or are you well underway? Because we want to learn from you tonight as well. So if you will connect, and then we'll have a quick discussion.
Okay, I see quite a few of you had a chance to interact with each other, and those of you who did not connect with others, I hope that you got a chance to IM. Let me bring up our presenters, and so let me turn the question back on you. Okay, what were your experiences with STEM before designing the program?
Oh, with mine, well, my undergrad is engineering, and then I got into education. And at the school I was at previously, I was just passionate about I will say, in engineering, there's not a lot of minorities and there's not a lot of females. And I wanted
There's
to,
my daughter.
well, and there was me, but there was only 5 of us, so. That was a real passion, bringing the tech into the school. I was very surprised when I came out of industry and went into the classroom at what wasn't there. And it was just such a huge gap from what I had, of course, in my job. And so we wanted to make it accessible to everyone. And I wanted to start with the lowest grade level that I had. And at the school that I was at, on the campus I was at, it was in 7th grade. And so by coming over to another district where they're starting it at kindergarten, I can't wait for Kaylin to share with you some of the things that they're doing in their classroom. What will they be? We just had a project last week with 6-year-olds, and it just blew my mind about what 6-year-olds can do, engineer and think through and measure and create. Yeah, they're just brilliant. And we just want to provide that ground floor opportunity to show that anybody can do this. Everybody has something to offer to the world. Everybody has a purpose. Everybody has something that only they can fulfill. And we truly believe that. And that's just the passion that drives it.
Okay, and I'm wondering if there's anybody who wants to click their raise hand button and wants to come up and just describe their STEM experience to everybody else. So if you want to come up, click on that raise hand button underneath your avatar, and I'll bring myself down and bring you up. It's amazing. We're all educators, right? We all stand in front of the classroom all day, right? And we're hoping to get kids to talk. And maybe there's somebody. Okay, good. So I'm going to bring Mary up, and I'll stop my broadcast.
Okay, this is really weird. Okay, this is really, really strange. Hi.
Hi.
This is why you don't videotape your lessons. Okay, so basically, I teach high school, and we have a science fair that we run every year, and I've organized it. But what I have is, instead of just doing the science fair for the high schoolers, we have my honor society run hands-on little experiments with all of the younger kids, because we also combine it with an art fair. And so we have all of our young kids go through the whole night doing little experiments all the way through, the art projects versus the science, little propelled cars, just all sorts of stuff, trying to get them excited about science.
That is awesome. That is a great idea. I absolutely love that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just see. There's a question. This is a technical question. I'm going to I'll answer that in a minute. So why don't I bring myself down, and I'll bring your slides back up.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
And I'm going to turn it over to my friend Lynn Sumner, who is kindergarten teacher. We do have definitely a framework here in Marshall of how we run the STEM program, and part of it, a huge part of it, are our big engineering projects. And so I'm going to slide our basket over to Kaylin. Go ahead, Kaylin.
Thank you, Cindy. We're really excited about our STEM program here in Marshall. And as she said, we definitely have a framework. We go off big projects, global connections, hands-on builds, and then technical integration. The first one I'm going to talk about is, as you can see, is our big projects. There's opportunities to participate in big projects at least one time per quarter, with many grade levels planning more for their students. In the early beginnings, we used kits, pre-made STEM kits, and they kind of were generic. It didn't quite fit our needs. It didn't meet our standards because we had such a diverse group from kindergarten to 4th grade when we first started. So we then kind of started branching out and tweaking it ourselves. And then before we knew it, we were kicking the kits to the side, and we were creating and thinking of our own projects. Those projects were developed by, most of the time, by things that were driven by our students, questions they had or things that they were interested in. And as you can see, where we are talking about our local shelter, you see the precious little puppy there. Our 6th grade STEM campus, they saw a need for a project to work with our animal shelter. Our shelter is in dire need. And so what they did is they created beds and things for the animals. And then they were actually judged, and the animal shelter employees actually helped choose the projects that were winners, and then they could also use and reproduce. Another one of them is that we're using is Rube Goldberg Challenge. It's interesting. It's interesting for our students, and always high interest is the key for us. One of the things that we saw was that we needed to completely design our own projects and our own program. So if you'll move to the next one for me, please, Nick. Global Connections was an easy way for us to do that. If you're looking to start an entry point, a very easy place to start would be Projects by Jen. She is awesome. This is our Christmas card challenge that my kindergarten students participated in. And Jen has programs and challenges, everything from OREO challenge, stacking OREOs, and that's tied to our math, and all the way to marshmallow challenges, building spaghetti towers. And I'll tell you a little bit about another one that we are really excited about, one of our own personal projects. Along with Global Connections, we also really stress hands-on build. Hands-on build is engineering. Engineering is the key. Engineering is hands-on. Oh, I'm sorry, Mitch. I'm just going. Can you please go to the next slide? Hands-on builds. Engineering is the key. We love to learn, and the kids love to build. They love to have their own ideas shown at the forefront. Students use the engineering design process for all of our engineering challenges, and really all of our challenges. You might see everything from what you see here is a marble run. This is like hot off the press. One of our first grade classes, or all of our first grade classes, actually use this. The students designed a marble run, as you'll see in the middle, and on paper, and then they created it. You'll see it on the left, and then they had to test it, and then of course retest and redesign. This project is one that you will see coming probably in January, pushed out by Projects by Jen. She's grabbed it, and we're excited because we're going to have our name on it. Woohoo! We also do everything from building little pig houses to help us teach our students about force, stability, and motion. Solar ovens, you name it, we come up with it. Another really important part of our program is our integration of technology. And, oh, I'm sorry, next slide. Integration of technology. We always want to bring technology to the forefront. At the beginning, don't worry if you can't do it at the very beginning. We started off with just researching. This was a zoo project that we researched with our kindergarten students, and all they used was a search engine. When I look at that now, that was last May, after much training with our STEM program and with our coordinator and others. We found new apps. We're using new apps. At this point, 5 weeks into the school year, I could probably name you half a dozen ways that I would tweak this project again, and we will. We'll take it from all paper to digital. Another important part that is the final culminating part of our framework would be authentic audiences. If I can get you to change to the next slide. Thank you. Authentic audiences. This is a global cardboard challenge. It's an international project based upon a video called Kane's Arcade. And it was the first big project that middle school students completed, in which they engineered interactive games from cardboard boxes. It was a big hit. It was a 9-week project, and the culminating activity was that the projects were showcased, and parents and hundreds of community members and family and friends attended, and they all got to play the games that the students had created. It was a big hit, and as you can see, young, old, everybody got into it. And we were able to showcase our students and their work, their engineering, their thought process, and problem solving. If you'll move on to our question slide. Here's the question for the next discussion. Outside of core classes, how can you integrate the STEM program?
Okay, so let me bring everybody up. Now, I understand that there was you were talking with a person named Elizabeth, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
She is.
and maybe we can ask Elizabeth to click the raise hand button so I can easily find her. And I understand. Oh, I found her. Ha. Okay, so I'm going to bring myself down and I'll bring Elizabeth back up.
Hi, Elizabeth. You were telling us about your awesome program. If you'll share with everyone just a little bit.
Well, what I was telling everyone was that I taught in a different school district. I'm now in Federal Way in Washington, and I taught in Kent. And I've been doing STEM for the last 2 years with my kindergartners and first graders. And I was devoting Fridays to our STEM program. And the first project that we did was pumpkin catapults. That was one of our very first ones. And I had been using ABC, yeah, I think it's backslash, and I can't remember the last part since I moved. But it gives you like a movie type of screen. And so the kids designed their catapults on this website, and then they built them in the classroom. And all I did with my kinders and first graders was I gave them the materials and told them what my expectations were, and I didn't show them any pictures prior to doing the projects. We discussed what catapults were, and they had seen catapults in Angry Birds. They had seen catapults in some of the Disney movies. So from there, once I saw that it was a huge success, we did a ton of activities. And one of my favorite projects was helping Rapunzel out of the castle. And I gave the kids all kinds of materials. I mean, I saved materials like you wouldn't believe. Paper towel tubes, all straws of any size, anything. And I just said, here's all the materials, you go for it. I had one child that designed a zip line to get her out of the castle. I had another child that designed a hot air balloon. And I tried to tie in as much literacy as I could with the program. And what my success from using STEM in the classroom is that a child may be struggling with reading or math, but I had one little boy who was he had such a hard time with reading and with math, but his engineering skills were amazing. His projects always amazed all of us. They were fantastic. One of the other things that I did really quick was we designed Macy's Day balloons for the parade, and there was a book that tied in with that. So I just went out on my own and tried to find as many websites as I could and tried to tie in as much technology, and away we went.
You know, Elizabeth, that's what we found too. Kind of going where our kids' needs are and tying in across the curriculum, integrating across the curriculum works the best. Thank you.
Sounds great.
Chat meeting. We have TA coming up.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So here's my dilemma. I'm a social studies teacher who came out of construction, got my CTE cert. Everything that would be applicable in STEAM for me would be the construction area and stuff like that. But I'm middle school. So right now I'm just feeling completely overwhelmed because we're not STEM, we are STEAM. That's specifically stated by the superintendent. And so I have no curriculum. I have limited materials. Right now I've got 60 spheros, but I don't want to bring out the coup de grace at the very beginning, and so I'm trying to do these little things. But with middle schoolers, I'm doing popsicle stick catapults and stuff. Like, if you know middle schoolers, they're very destructive and stuff like this, and so I'm a traditional classroom. I don't have the storage, just logistically everything. I was excited in the beginning, and now I'm just a month in, and I'm dreading it. I'm not liking it.
No, you're in the right place. Okay, so look, everybody that's ever taught, like, we should all just raise our hand right now in our room. Anybody who's ever been there knows exactly what you're feeling.
Yes.
You kind of make it up as you go along, and that's okay. There's not a set curriculum out there. I think that's the whole point of sharing something like tonight. There are going to be people in the room, and if you know something, jump in right now for him. We use a lot of tech in our social studies. We do a ton of global connections. There's a guy, Mike, Global Teacher of the Year. I will look it up and put it in the chat window or come back to you while we go to the next person. But he does global connections. He was Microsoft Teacher of the Year. Mike, I'll get it. And he was social studies, connected with people in another country, and when their students connect with a mystery Skype, they always ask them, what's it like where you live? And some of the students where they lived could not go to school in the rainy season because of the washout, and the young children couldn't cross the bridge. It was too unstable. So in his social studies class, he talked about a real world, relevant problem. His students looked at each other and said, well, we should do something about that. And of course he said, well, let's do it. And so they began to raise money, design the bridge, and actually Mike was able to get a grant to fly over and build the bridge for the community and deliver it. So make it real, make it relevant. And Mike Soskill, S-O-S-K-I-L-L, fantastic gentleman who has Skyped with us as well, and great to look up under Microsoft Skype for sure. Thank you. All right, we are going to turn it over. We know we're running long even now. We do have the big projects, and then we certainly have smaller bite-sized pieces in a much more manageable fashion. Jennifer Hoskins, our instructional coach for STEM, we're going to spin our basket right on over to her and share with you, let her share with you tonight. Thank you.
Okay. For STEM bites, we can't always do a really large project all the time. That becomes too overwhelming. So what we ask from our STEM teachers is that they give us some STEM bites, which are truly integrated activities into the curriculum, and they're done on a daily basis. And it's small enough where you're not overwhelmed and you can just integrate small pieces at a time. And this is to encourage our kids to think critically, collaborate, use creativity, and communicate effectively. So these are mini projects. So for example, the one on the slide, these are our kindergartners with B-bots, and B-bots were used to reinforce numbers and letter recognition, and also to practice sequencing so they could code their robot. They also utilized coding in a community mapping project, and that was tied to their social studies standards. Geometricity was used in our 5th grade, where they created a 3D model of a building, and then they practiced measuring and calculating area and perimeter. Way to go, Miss Ryan. I know she's joined us. Next slide, please. Here are some other products that we have. For hands-on, we use snap circuits a lot for some of our circuitry, and we also use apps, and we have our B-bots, which you saw earlier. Apps on the iPad, like Do Ink, we use that with our green screen. We have Quiver Vision, which is an augmented reality where anything that the child draws or colors, you use an app to scan it and it pops up off the page for them. We have Viewmasters, where we have developed virtual field trips for example, we just did one this week for the regions of Texas for our 4th graders. We have done many virtual field trips to just all around the place. We use Discovery Education for board builder and storyboard that. We've done mystery Skypes. We have Z-Space, which is also a virtual reality device as well. And we love AR circuits as well. Thanks, Adam. Next slide. All right. We also asked them to do some hands-on exploration activities in every classroom. It can be small. It doesn't have to be something super overwhelming. Obviously, it fits very well into the science curriculum. But we do ask that everybody have some kinds of hands-on exploration because we recognize that our students are using those 4 C's when they are doing these hands-on explorations, and they are thinking critically and learning to collaborate, all those things. Next slide. We also integrate our technology. In the middle school, we have a one-to-one Chromebook program, and we're working on tons of new devices at the elementary, although they're not quite one-to-one yet. And we use all kinds of iPad apps. One of our favorites is Osmo. That's a picture of our kinders and our first graders using it for numeracy, spelling, spatial awareness, coding. Then we also love apps like 30 Hands, which make it easy and very, very quick for our students to showcase their work and their learning. We also love Storyboard That and, of course, ClassFlow. Next slide. These are some examples of our augmented and virtual realities that we utilize. We just recently did International Dot Day with our kinders. And then we have Z-Space, which is a virtual reality device. And if you look at the picture, the girl looks like she's actually holding something in her hand because in her mind she is because of the glasses that she's wearing. But that has everything from circuitry to human body systems. And then ClassFlow is what we have been utilizing recently with our Promethean boards, and we've used it to build our virtual field trips for our 4th graders through the regions of Texas. And on the next slide is our discussion question. Are your students doing projects that include the hands-on learning, global connections, and/or authentic audiences?
So I was thinking that because we're coming up, we only have about 12 more minutes left, that instead of people pairing together on this, maybe we can ask for a volunteer. Maybe somebody could raise their hand and they could just discuss it with you. Would that be okay with you guys? Okay. So we're looking for volunteer right now, and you all look for volunteers from your students. Come on, you found it, that you saw it didn't hurt. So click on the hand button so that I can quickly find you and volunteer to come up on stage and answer the question. Oh, come on, somebody can volunteer.
Come on.
There's somebody. Good. Okay, so I'm going to bring myself down, and I'm going to bring Dana up, and I'm hoping that Dana has a camcorder also, a webcam also. So here comes Dana.
Hi, Dana. Maybe not.
Okay. Okay. So unfortunately, it didn't look. Dana doesn't look like there was a webcam. So somebody with a webcam, can you raise your hand and join on stage and share your experience? I see Ad Hardy. Actually, so Ad Hardy has it. So maybe what I'll do is let me bring Ad Hardy up. Hopefully you don't mind, and maybe Ad can talk to you about and answer the question. And also, she had a question, so you could answer her question.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good on the spot. So my question was basically how it can be integrated school wide. I use a lot in classrooms. My son attended math and science academies but that was so many years ago, and that he was in school. So I'm just wondering now, because I'm in the process of, in mine, I guess right now it's a state school, but we're having a hard time getting it school wide. So I'm trying to find out what types of trainings you did with your teachers, or how did you take it school wide?
Right. At our STEM Academy, it is K through 4, and we did start small, and then we grew it year by year. And like we said, we're in our 4th year, so it's getting even bigger now. And we provide training every summer, and then monthly we come to their faculty meetings and provide more training for them. And then Cindy and I go to the campus all the time and support them in their classroom, introduce them to new technologies, new ideas. But we also support whatever they come to us with, hey, I want to do this, how am I going to do it? So that's our job basically, is to support them, what they need from us. And then we are fortunate to have a wonderful group of teachers that no one is really resistant to it. They're all excited about it. They all want to see the program succeed. So we have 100% of our teachers at our STEM campus that are doing STEM on a daily basis. Hold on, Kaylin wants to comment on that as well.
I was just going to say, an important piece would be to basically find someone who's willing to try something, little or big. Little is the best place to start, and just try something, do one thing, and then jump from there. It's easier to grow that way.
And I'm just going to, I know you probably want to move on, but I'm just going to, in the question you asked about and/or authentic audiences. So how do you go about finding authentic audiences for the kids' projects? Because it's one thing if they're doing a project and they know the teacher's going to use it and that's going to be it. But it's a whole different thing if they're going to do something and either other people are going to see it or other people are going to use it, or somebody else has said, this is a problem that I have. Can you solve it? How do you go about getting authentic audience for the kids?
We definitely think it's important, even with the writing prompts on a daily basis, to have an authentic audience, like on a blog. But the easiest way for those big projects, or even the small bite-sized pieces, is to invite the families in. It's a great way to connect with your parents. We are partners with our parents, and we just want to continue to develop those relationships. Another tangible place that we go, though, is connected classrooms on Google Plus Community, and that's a great way to find anybody who is willing to connect classroom to classroom or be an audience for their students.
So you can just go into a search and type in connected classrooms, and it'll take you to the
Google Plus Community. Yes, there's tons of educators that are looking to connect. And then we love Projects by June. So absolutely. Yes, all right, we are going to turn it over to Carol Korsmeier, who is our technology teacher at one of the middle schools, and this has been a huge effort. This is actually how Carol and I started at the previous school with Miss Stephanie Mason, and I haven't seen her here tonight, but she was our STEM teacher at the middle school where we began. And so I'll let Carol talk a little bit about what they do in the electives.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here. I actually joined part of Marshall School District late in the spring last year, so I'm the newest member in this group, but I'm probably also the most excited because my kids look forward to coming to class every day, and part of that is because we get to use some sort of technology, and when I took the technology job, we understood, and my principal was very gracious and said, you create what you want to happen in your classroom. And so I did just that because I believe in the STEM. We saw the gains in our test scores from the former school where we were, and I know what it can do. So I'm all about all kinds of technology in the classroom, and I hope that the ones that we introduce in my classroom go to the core classes as well. We do everything from little bits, which is electrical engineering kind of things, completing circuits. We also use Makey for that. Drones. Open house becomes theater for me when the parents come on our campus, because our kids program drones. They use Blockly code, if I say it right, to program the drone to fly. And so everybody wants to come to our classroom to see the drone fly. So it's so exciting for our kids to get to do that. And the parents are another authentic audience. Is open house night. Our parents come because they want to see what the kids are involved in and can hardly believe it. So on the next slide, you'll see that we do projects that allow for creativity. The sky's the limit, basically. What if you can think it, we can figure out a way to make it happen. We do movie making. Again, on open house night, I had students putting their parents in front of the green screen and creating movies. And so we have some very, very exciting movies that their families did together. And you can tell in that one they're trying to teach me how to dance. Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a test later. We also use video game design, which is engineering, creating, designing your own game. And when I'm telling you about these apps, they're free. And I am all about free apps. And this is the video game that you see here is Floors by Pixel Press. We also use Scratch Junior, which is a free app for video game design as well. And you'll see on the next slide that we program. We program Ozobots. We program robots. We use the Lego EV3 robots. Again, critical thinking skills, so important. Problem-solving skills, so important. When they're in the middle of the robot, Miss Kay, it won't work, it won't work. They have to go back step by step and figure out how to make it work. So important in our classroom, but in every classroom, and even down the line to give them confidence in what they're going to be doing later on. So huge, huge gains in test scores and even in just classroom accomplishments when they're able to think through those problems. On the next slide, again, I'm all about free resources. Scratch Junior is a free resource, code.org. And what you see in that picture, and parents can hardly believe that their students are learning about binary code, about how our computers talk to each other. They created bracelets to remind them about binary code, and then they have to actually do code and solve problems, and that starts in kindergarten. And I heard one of the teachers a few minutes ago talk about using code.org. That is huge, and it's very grade friendly from kindergarten through high school, and more challenging the older the classes get. So a lot of free things to use there. We use free apps for digital storytelling. We use free apps for literacy, lots and lots of things. And Mitch, if you look, our question for discussion is, what free apps are you guys aware of? What free resources would any of you guys recommend? Because we're all about free.
So on this one, I'd like to encourage everybody to type in their free resources into the IM so you can share them with each other. Because, you know, it's one thing if you click on another person, you can share that with one person. But if you can share them in your IM window, then everybody in your room can see them, and you guys could actually call out some of the ones that are in the room that you're in that people mentioned. So and then you see that there was a question. This is a great question, because you mentioned that test scores were rising. How did you figure out that? How did you link the test scores to the things you were doing in STEM?
All right, I'm going to turn that over to Cindy because she is the one who monitors that.
Yes, absolutely. This was our one integration at the previous school. We did 3 things at the previous school to raise test scores. And the STEM class, the development of the STEM class taught by Ms. Stephanie Mason at our previous school, was the one thing that we changed. So we didn't change anything else at our school except for adding this STEM class. We monitored science scores before the class, and math scores, and then we did our mid-year, and of course our post-testing. And the only change was the Lego Mindstorm Engineering 1 and 2 curriculum. We did video connections with scientists, and so our students were getting real-world experiences, even though our teachers were not qualified, not experienced in offering those experiences. We paid for the experience through video conferencing, and we gave them opportunities to practice. That Lego curriculum is an application of math and science skills, 100%. We saw the test scores rise. Because of the content in that curriculum and the wordiness of it, we saw not only our math and science go up, our science went up 30 points that year. That was the only change we made. Didn't change teachers, changed the curriculum, added that class. And And then we saw our reading go up as well, and we feel like that was because of the difficulty of the reading levels. It really was something we put every 7th grader in the school. You came to our school, you went to the STEM class. Miss Mason taught you, and it was logical, methodical approach to problem solving. It went right into the computational gains that we saw in the math class as well. So that's how we think STEM's good. It's been good for us. Miss Mason's good, and it's just been a really great fit. We see this course here in Marshall as well, and we're seeing evidence.
There's actually 2 questions that, because I didn't bring this up, people are asking, can we share the resources? And since all the resources are listed on the slides, I just want to let everybody know that on the Edchat interactive website, we will put a link to all these slides, so everybody will be able to get the slides and see what the resources are. So I'm going to pull myself down then and pull your slides back up so you can continue, because we're actually.
We do want to show you a couple of workarounds that we found and some different ways that we're integrating the program here. The biggest deal is, what if you don't have those teachers that are ready to roll, wanting to do it, and you're not quite ready to roll? That's where we say get the virtual support. Connect with educators on Connected Classrooms at Google+. Reach out to us. Our Twitter names were up there on those very first slides. We'll share that out again in the chat box. But Skype calls, we didn't know how to green screen. We called somebody in Discovery Education Network. We didn't know how to integrate Spiro into our 4th grade math class. We had a friend Skype in. Now we're doing the calls. Carol, when she first started teaching science, we weren't quite sure how to dissect owl pellets. So we paid for that experience. Now Carol's teaching other people how to dissect the owl pellets. So that's a good thing. We also used MOOCs, which are massively open online courses. And those are great free resources for our students. We wanted to do a tech class, and we were at a private school before and didn't have the teachers with the background in it. So we found MOOCs, which are free, signed our kids up. They're offered through the University of Houston, is the one that we took, on digital storytelling, and that provided the framework. You only have to do that one time for a teacher. The curriculum's right there, and then the teacher gets a good feel for it. A lot of us need to see it modeled, and that's what we did for our teachers there, and that's what we're doing here in Marshall. We model. If we're not sure when we first started Osmo, well, let's go figure it out together, and we just kind of joined forces. We figure 2 minds are always better than one. If you'll go to the next slide, Mitch, we'll show you a little bit about our STEM nights. We reach out to the preschool program that feeds into our elementary. We want everybody to start as young as possible. So we made non-Newtonian fluids last year. Mitch, go ahead and turn it. We'll show you a little bit about Makerspace. I hate that we're not going to get to Adam, the founder of AR Circuits. Super, super easy way to integrate STEM at your school. And it may be a pop-up that happens once a quarter as something unique and fun. It may be housed in your library. You see makerspaces all over the country now. Or it may be even a shelf, a makerspace shelf in your classroom for early finishers. To have those challenge cards ready, a STEM bin, whatever you want to call it, but have that pre-made and ready, that's a great activity to just send someone over. If you have your smart board, your Promethean board in your classroom, put Circuit Builder up on there. That's an online flash game. Shockwave flash games are a fantastic way to integrate STEM into any classroom. Look up your subject matter, whatever you happen to be teaching, and then type in the extension SWF. It'll pull up all of the online games that will reinforce the content. Go ahead and go to the next one. We do science demos. Jennifer actually started a science center up in Washington State, and so she is our liquid nitrogen expert. We are all learning as fast as we can so that we can multiply and go out and conquer more schools, of course. But we do science demos, and we bring in special experiences for our students. And I think it's those unique experiences that they remember. It's always tied to standards. Somebody had asked, how do you do all of this and you keep your test scores up? Test scores are critical here, just like they are all over the country. And so everything we do are tied to standards. We look at the standards on the lesson planning when we go in and meet with teachers, and we look at it with just a different set of eyes. The teacher has the content knowledge. We look at it for how can we integrate tech, how can we have a real project out of this, how can we have hands-on experiences, and then we just bounce from there and the ideas start flowing. On the next slide, you'll see that we do explorations with our teachers, and so all of those always come in. We will come in with a team of maybe 4 or 5 specialists and just divide up the students and give them an engineering design challenge while we're there that day, again, tied to their standards. We're going to finish up on that very last slide. My biggest deal in saying has always been just start where you are. I think the biggest challenge is always to overcome that fear and say, you know, ask yourself, what can I do? Maybe it's one time a month you're just going to challenge yourself. It's kind of like exercise. One time a month, I'm going to go walk at the park. This is the same type of deal. One time a month, I'm really going to integrate this STEM thing. I'm going to find a challenge that matches my standards, and I'm just going to try it with my kids and see how it goes. And I think starting small is the key to accomplishing something great. It started in one classroom, in my little classroom, years and years ago, and I just wanted to keep morphing it out, and have now since moved to a district job and impacting classrooms everywhere. And so that's really the exciting part of it. So start somewhere and do what you can.
Wow. So one more question that I have is, you know, ClassFlow graciously found you all for this and put you together. And I'm just curious, how do you use ClassFlow? I know it's free for teachers. How do you use ClassFlow to help with the STEM?
Our ClassFlow is definitely something that we saw we're building our virtual field trips on that now, in creating that augmented reality experience. Mainly in our social studies and in our English classrooms, to put real meaning about what the kids are reading right there on the ViewMaster screen for the students to see. So if we're reading about Paris, we're going to Paris, and we're creating all of that. In ClassFlow, you'll see kind of like a PowerPoint. There's a teacher set of cards and then a student set of cards, and whatever is on the student set of cards actually shows up on the student devices. So it creates real-time polling. It is a great way to assess understanding in the classroom, and the best thing about ClassFlow is it's free. It's free.
Yeah.
And so with ClassFlow, it's feeding out the information to our students. So by pulling up that circuit builder or pulling up a flash game, it's right there in the student's hands. It's right in front of it. It personalizes the learning. You can differentiate groups with that. You can have something for your early finishers. You can have a different project going on for those that you maybe need to scaffold a little bit differently. So ClassFlow is a critical part of what we are building, and Promethean has always been a part of what we try to learn and master and include in our classrooms.
Well, thank you. So, you know, I just personally, I want to thank you. What you're doing is really incredible. I mean, the kids, you can see the smiles on the kids' faces, and somehow or other, I just think that when kids are enjoying themselves, they're a lot more motivated and they're really learning. You've put together an incredible program. I hope that everybody who attended, you know, appreciated and learned something as well. And you know, again, thank you very much. And I just wish I were a kid again, and I could go to your school.
It's a fun place to be. And for us too, we told the superintendent we have the best jobs in the district, and we know it. So. Yes, absolutely.
So maybe you don't need to get paid.
Oh, okay.
It supports our STEM habit. So
It supports our STEM habit. That's right.
Still is a job. You still need to get paid. Okay. Well, thank you all very much. And you know, maybe we can have a reprise or an advanced session in the spring. You know, and bring you back in. I'd love to have you back. So
awesome.
Okay. So there's all 4.
Thank y'all.
Thank you so much, Mitch. We appreciate it.
Okay, and I want to thank everybody for attending tonight. I hope you got as much out of this program as I did, and hope to see you at a future event. This is Mitch Weisberg for Edchat Interactive, and I'm signing off. Good night, everybody.